Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this class on stock and commodity market. Here, primarily, we'll try to discuss how stock market and commodity market are similar and how they are different from each other. First of all, you need to understand the market where the trading happens, where buyer and seller interact and they buy and sell commodities. Okay, so that is done through the exchange. So exchange act like a counterparty here. So here we have exchange. Okay, and the role of exchange is to act like a seller for every buyer or to act like a buyer for every seller. So here, when we talk about transaction, what we do with respect with exchange. So seller did not know who is the buyer do not know who is the seller. So the for the seller, exchange act like a buyer, okay, and for the buyer, exchange act like a seller, and for the buyer, whoever want to buy any commodity, so for the buyer, exchange act like a seller. Okay, so the exchange makes sure that the trade agreement always exists between the two counterparty, and this concept of exchange, where exchange makes sure that the exchange act like a buyer for every seller and exchange act like a seller for every buyer, that concept is called novation. Okay, so the question comes, why this concept of novation actually works? What is the role of this exchange? Why this exchange actually exists? So you need to understand, no one actually knows the history of trading. So from how long we are using trading between ourselves, no one actually knows the history of trading. Okay, but probably it was always the risk which exists between the two parties whenever they perform trading is the counterparty risk. So there is always a possibility of a risk where one party can default over the obligation. So that risk which exists, that is called default risk, or that is also called as counterparty risk. So from long, when we talk about trading, so human as a social animal, we cannot have everything with us. So if we are farmer, so we may need some commodity to survive. Okay, maybe for our existence, maybe for our need, or maybe for our want, or maybe if you are a trader, then we are dependent on farmer for some primary articles. So as a society, when we all existing with each other, we are dependent on each other. So we talk about trading among ourselves. We can either do barter form of trading, or we can do multilateral trading. So here the trading, what we talk about, the trading where there's a buyer and there's a seller, and at the present determined price, if the buyer and seller perform the trading, that is called spot trading. Okay, that market is called spot market, and that trading is called spot trading. So spot trading basically means the at the present price, whatever is the present price, at that present price, if there's a buyer and if there's a seller, if you have the buyer and if you have a seller, so they agree to do transaction, okay, at the present underlying price of any commodity, and that they do transaction, that is called spot trading. There's other form of trading which is also called derivative market trading. There's another form of trading which is called as derivative market trading. So when we talk about derivative market trading, so here in the case of derivative market trading, we are talking about a transaction. When we talk about derivative market trading, we are talking about transaction which will be done, which will be which will be done in the future, which will be done in the future, which will be done in the future at the present determined condition, at the present determined condition. So this is called derivative transaction. When we talk about a derivative transaction, there's always a concern exists. Okay, so when we talk about derivative transaction, we are talking about a transaction which will do in the future based on the present determined condition. So that form of doing transaction is called derivative transaction. Now the question comes, why we need to talk about a transaction which will do in the future at present. Okay, so suppose if I'm a farmer, Okay, if I'm a farmer and if I'm growing potatoes, so I'm trying to make agreement with some trader who ready to buy these potatoes from me maybe after 2 months or 3 months down the line once the potatoes get ready. Okay, so right now, just now, I just started harvesting the potatoes in my field. Okay, I just now started harvesting the seeds of potatoes in my field. Okay, and I'm worried about who will buy these potatoes from me once these potatoes will be ready. Okay, so the question comes, why should I worry about who will buy potato from me? Because potato is a basic commodity, right? So we all dependent on vegetables, especially the vegetables like potato, onion, tomato, for our basic existence. Okay, so I did, irrespective of whatever would be the price of any vegetable in the future, the generally as a mass we generally consume potato with any other vegetables. So as a farmer, why should I worry about then who will buy potato from me, because they always be the demand of potato in the market. But the problem here is that I believe that definitely as a farmer, I know that there will be demand for the potato in the market, but what I'm worried about here is that will I able to get the reasonable profit margin or not? Okay, that is my concern. Imagine my per kg cost of production of 1 kg of potato. Suppose for example that per kg cost of production of 1 kg of potato is suppose 9 rupees per kg, and I have a family to survive. Okay, so if I'm not able to sell the potato minimum of 11 rupees per kg, then it would be very difficult for me to run my family, because being a farmer, suppose for example, this is just a hypothetical condition. So being a farmer, so I am growing in potato in my field, and the cost of production, COGS, cost of goods sold, the cost of production, the direct cost involved plus indirect cost involved to grow the potato altogether is suppose 9 rupees per kg. So 9 rupees per kg is my threshold. That is my threshold, right? So that is a minimum what I should get. Otherwise, there's no point of growing potato in my field. So that 9 rupees per kg, suppose that is the threshold to grow the potatoes in my field. But again, if I'm growing potato as a farmer, what I'll do with that money once I get that money, the same money I'll use to buy rice, the same money I'll use to buy any other commodity, the same money I'll use to pay for my children education. So imagine, for example, that minimum I get more than 11 rupees per kg. If I'm not getting more than 11 rupees per kg, then there's no point of me doing this occupation. So what is derivative market transaction? Derivative market transaction is basically that form of market transaction where we talk about a transaction which we'll do in the future based on the present determined condition. So here the farmer is ready to sell the potato in the future. Okay, so the potato here, the potato is called as here, this potato here, for example, I told potato, right? So potato is called as underlying asset. This potato is called as underlying asset. This potato is called as underlying asset. This potato is called as underlying asset. So when we talk about derivatives, when we are talking derivative, in the case of derivative, we are talking about a transaction which we'll do in the future based on the present determined condition. Okay, so here when we work on derivative agreement, if you see the word derivative actually means that something which is deriving its value, something which is not real in nature. So if you Google it or if you go through Investopedia to understand the meaning of this word called derivative, you'll understand that derivatives are those financial instruments which derive their value from some underlying assets. So the underlying asset here is the potato. Okay, so here the farmer is ready to sell the potato in the future. So the person who is ready to sell the underlying asset in the future that person is called as short position holder. So that person, what we call that person, we call that person as a short position holder. So the person who is ready to sell the underlying asset in the future, so that person will not use the word seller. So in when we talk about derivative market, because seller in the future who's ready to sell the underlying asset in the future, so the seller in the future is called as short position holder. The seller in the future is called as short position holder. And the buyer in the future, whoever act like a buyer, so the buyer in the future is called as long position holder. Whoever will act like a buyer, that person is called as long position holder. So here the farmer, what the farmer will do, farmer will go to the trader. They definitely there would be some traders who would be interested to make agreement with farmer, where the trader agrees that he will buy potato from the farmer after 2 months at the present determined condition. Maybe the farmer and the trader, where the farmer acting like a short position holder and the trader acting like a long position holder, and the trader acting like a long position holder. Suppose they talk about a transaction. Suppose they talk about a transaction which they will do in the future, which they will do in the future based upon the present determined condition. Suppose they decided that after suppose they decided that after 2 months, suppose they decided that after 2 months, farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader. Suppose they decided that after 2 months, the farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader, and trader will buy this potato at suppose 12 rupees per kg. Suppose, for example, suppose the farmer and trader, they decided that after 2 months, farmer and the trader will perform a trade agreement. The terms of the trade agreement they are discussing right now, these terms of this trade agreement they're discussing right now. They're discussing that after 2 months, the farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader, and trader will buy these potatoes at 12 rupees per kg. So when we talk about a derivative transaction, in the case of derivative transaction, we are talking about a transaction which we'll do in the future, okay, based upon the present determined condition. So the terms of the contract is being decided right now, that after 2 months, farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader, and the trader will buy this potato at 12 rupees per kg. So this 12 rupees per kg is called exercise price. So this 12 rupees per kg is called exercise price. So here the terms of the contract is pre-decided, like exercise price, okay, or the settlement price, that is pre-decided. Okay, so on this pre-decided exercise price, after 2 months, the farmer and the trader will undergo the transaction. The farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader, and trader will give 120 rupees to the farmer. So when we talk about a transaction, so in the case of derivative transaction, one person act like a buyer in the future, the other person act like a seller in the future. So both a buyer and seller, they're talking about a transaction which they will do in the future based upon the present determined condition. The total size of the quantity, the total size of the quantity, the value of one unit, or one unit, or 1 kg, or 1 quintal, whatever, that is being decided at what price they will do the transaction, where they will do the transaction, what would be the other parameters of the transaction. Everything is pre-decided, and finally on that particular date, the transaction will take place. So this forms of derivative instrument, this form of instrument is called derivative instrument, and basically this form of transaction is called OTC. This form of transaction is called OTC. OTC means over the counter. This form of transaction is called OTC. This form of transaction is called OTC. OTC stands for over the counter transaction. Okay, so no one actually knows the history of derivatives, if you talk with me, like when people started using derivatives as a medium of transaction, so no one actually knows the history of derivatives from the time when the trading started happening between humans, because we all are social animals. So being a social animal, we used to interact with each other, and whenever we are interacting with each other, we can either talk about a transaction which we'll do at the present determined condition, which is called spot trading, or we can talk about a transaction which we'll do in the future based upon the present determined condition, which is called derivative transaction. So the history of these transactions, when it started, how it started, no one actually knows. So from the beginning of the transactions, we have seen a lot of examples where these transactions happened either in the spot market or either in the derivative market. Only problem with these forms of derivative instrument, which is over the counter, or the problem with the over the counter forms of a derivative instrument, that they contain the risk, that risk is called default risk or the counterparty risk, where there's a possibility that one person will default over the obligation. Okay, so one person can default over the obligation. That concern always exists with the case of derivative instrument, like here, in this case of this farmer and the trader, that farmer and the trader agreed the transaction at 12 rupees per kg. So whatever, I don't know, whatever reason would be, the farmer and the trader, they agreed that they will do transaction at 12 rupees per kg, and the size of the contract, was 10 kg. Okay, so after 2 months, as per the transaction, after 2 months, the farmer would give would give the farmer would give 10 kg of potato. The farmer would give 10 kg of potato to the trader. Okay, while the trader would buy, while the trader would pay 120 rupees to the farmer. Trader would pay 120 rupees to the farmer. That is what is being decided. Okay, so this form of derivative transaction is called OTC based transaction. OTC means over the counter. OTC form of derivative transactions. When we talk about 1 minute. So this OTC based transaction, what we are talking about. So in this OTC based transaction, okay, so here the terms are being pre-decided, and on this pre-decided terms, the transaction will happen after 2 months. And when this OTC, when we talk about OTC over the counter, when we talk about OTC over the counter, the OTC form of transaction over the counter transaction, when we talk about, they have their own advantages and the disadvantages. Over the counter transaction, they have their own advantages, they have their own disadvantages. So the advantage of the OTC based transaction is that the terms of the transaction is being pre-decided. Okay, and it's mutually, it's a customized transaction. It is a customized transaction. A customized transaction. 1 minute, guys. Sorry for inconvenience. So I was talking about uh, over the counter transaction. So when we talk about this over the counter transaction, the good, it is good also, it's bad also. Probably if for example you have a subject called international finance. Okay, so there you are talking about how bank use currencies as a medium of transaction, right? So for the bank, currency is like inventory for them. So bank buys currency, bank sells currency. So these currencies are also trading over the exchange also. But you will not find banks engaging in exchange-based trading, because when we talk about exchange-based trading, the terms are decided by the exchange. The value of the contract is decided by the exchange. Okay, so the settlement in which currency, that currency settlement will happen, that is also decided by the exchange. So all there would be too much regulations if the transaction go through the exchange mode. For the banks, that will not be feasible. So normally the banks, when it comes to currency market, the 99% of the transaction what you will see in the currency market is actually happens OTC based only. Okay, it does not happen through exchange based transaction. So you need to understand, but again, they have their own disadvantage also, because if normal individuals are allowed to engage in over the counter transaction, then the normal individual cannot understand the risk involved in the form of derivative instrument, because normally when we talk about derivative instrument, although a derivative instrument was initially or always looked as a risk minimization instrument. Initially, the reason why derivative came in picture was basically it was used as a risk minimization instrument. But at the present economic era, there are many speculators who engage in the transactions over different commodities, and their sole interest of gaining profit, the sole interest of them engaging in the transaction is to make value from the money. Thereby they create artificial demand for that product in the market, and that ultimately impact the demand supply mechanism of the product in the market. So again, when we talk about over the counter transaction, so for banks or big MNCs, which never gonna default on their obligation, for them over the counter transaction looks well. But for normal individual who have the possibility of default in the future, for them undergoing over the counter transaction would be a difficult job to be undergo. In India, the transaction in OTC market by normal individuals is prohibited. Normal individuals in India cannot engage in OTC based transactions. So OTC based transaction, which is customized form of transaction, have their own advantages, they have own disadvantages. So this form of derivative instrument, okay, which was used uh, initially from the time when we talk about the derivative instrument, which was over the counter based transaction, which was customized based transaction, where the long position holder and short position holder can talk about the transaction which they will do in the future based upon the present determined condition. That form of derivative transaction is called as forward contract. So when we talk about forward contract, when we talk about forward contract is basically it is a OTC based derivative transaction where the terms of the contract is mutually decided by the long and short position holder based upon their mutual convenience, and whatever is being pre-decided they will undergo to follow the transaction in the future. Like the example what I was talking about, a farmer and a trader, where the farmer and the trader, where farmer act like a short position holder and the trader act like a long position holder. They agrees to undergo, they decided that they will undergo the transaction in the future, okay, based upon the present determined condition, where farmer agreed that farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader, and the trader agrees that he will buy this 10 kg of potato at 12 rupees per kg, where the value of the contract would be 120 rupees. So this was what decided between the farmer and the trader. But the problem with the forward contract is that the forward contract contains the problem of default risk. Default risk give the scenario where there's a possibility that one person may default on the obligation. Okay, so maybe it's farmer or trader. We never know, right? What will happen to the price of potato in the future, right? So farmer and the trader, the farmer and the trader, they decided that they will do transaction at 12 rupees per kg. Farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader. Farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader. Farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader, and trader will pay him 12 rupees per kg. 12 rupees per kg. That is what decided between farmer and trader. So, and these, when they did, what they decided that they will do this transaction after 2 months. Okay. So after 2 months, what will be the price of potato? We have no idea. After 2 months, the price of potato, the price of potato, the underlying asset is potato, right? The price of potato can be the after 2 months the price of potato can be, it can be equal to, so after 2 months the price of potato, it can be equal to 12 rupees per kg. If it is equal to 12 rupees per kg, then there's no problem at all. It can be, the price can be more than 12 rupees per kg. So if the potato price, if after 2 months, if that would be more than 12 rupees per kg, if the price of potato is that, if that become more than 12 rupees per kg, then what will happen? Then in this case, the trader would be very happy. Then in this case, the trader will be in gain position, and the farmer would be in loss position, because the same potato which the farmer has agreed to sell that trader at 12 rupees per kg, maybe that is today right now at 15 rupees per kg. Imagine if the farmer would not have went into this derivative transaction, then the farmer would have been end up in selling the same potato in the market at 15 rupees per kg. But because farmer has agreed to give the trader at 12 rupees per kg, the farmer had no other option but to follow the contract and give the trader at 12 rupees per kg the same potato which is there in the market at 15 rupees per kg. The trader is getting from the farmer at 12 rupees per kg. So, so definitely then trader would be very happy, because for the trader it would be very gain position. Okay, because the same potato, if the trader go and buy from the market, he would end up in buying at 15 rupees per kg. But because the trader had made agreement with the farmer, so the trader would end up in getting the same potato at 12 rupees per kg. So here the trader would be very happy and the farmer would be very sad. The vice versa, if the price of potato become less than 12 rupees per kg, so we never know, right? What will gonna happen in the future to the price of the underlying asset? If the price of the underlying asset increases on the expiry date, around the expiry date, then the long position holder would be in gain position and the short position holder would be in loss position. While if the price of the underlying asset, if that would be less than the if the future price of the underlying asset, if that would be lesser than the exercise price, then here the trader would be in loss position, and the farmer here it would be in gain position, and the farmer would be in the gain position. Okay, here the farmer would be in the gain position. So here the farmer would be in the gain position, because imagine the same potato is there in the market, suppose at 9 rupees per kg, and farmer is selling to the trader at 12 rupees per kg. So trader would be feeling very bad, because if the trader would not have made this agreement, then trader would be buying this potato at 9 rupees per kg just because of the agreement. Trader left with no option. Trader has to buy these potatoes from the farmer. Trader has to buy this potato from the farmer. Okay, at 12 rupees per kg. The farmer will be very happy in this case. Why the farmer will be very happy in this case? Because now the same potato which is there in the market, the same potatoes which is there in the market at 9 rupees per kg. Everyone is doing transaction at 9 rupees per kg. Farmer had that fear in the mind because imagine if the farmer would not went to this agreement, then what would be the condition of the farmer? Because I told you that the minimum cost of production for the farmer is around this 9 rupees per kg, and farmer had that fear in the mind that there is a chance that the price of potato can become less also if there would be too much flooded with the supply of the underlying asset. Imagine, no, if the supply become too much and the demand is still constant, the demand is constant. The if the demand is not rising in proportionate manner to what the supply is rising, maybe the supply with the in the future increased. Okay, and then because of the too much supply of the underlying asset, definitely the price of the underlying asset would fall in the future. So in this case, the farmer had realized this, that maybe like this farmer, there would be a lot of other farmers who are growing potato. Maybe this time it is much more better environment for the growth of potato. So if everyone will end up in growing potato, definitely there will be market flooded with the potatoes, and if the market will be flooded with the potato, definitely if the supply become more, so and demand again the same, the value of the asset will decrease, and that is what farmer had realized before that time, and that and gave advantage to the farmer because the farmer has already made the agreement with the trader where the farmer agreed that he will sell potatoes to the trader at 12 rupees per kg, which is right now at 9 rupees per kg. So in this case, the farmer would be in what you say gain position, and trader would be in the loss position. So we never know, right? What would can happen to the price of the underlying asset in the case of a derivative agreement. When we talk about a derivative transaction, in the case of a derivative transaction, we are talking about a transaction which we would do in the future, okay, which we would do in the future based upon the present determined condition. So whatever would be the present determined condition, on that present determined condition, we will undergo the transaction in the future. So that is how we talk about a derivative agreement. That is how we discuss about derivative agreement. And here in this case of derivative agreement, we are talking about a transaction which will be done between the farmer and the trader, where the farmer agreed that farmer will give 10 kg of potato to the trader, and trader agreed to buy this potato from the farmer, okay, at 12 rupees per kg. So we never know what can happen to the price of the underlying asset in the future. So if the price of the underlying asset, if that become more than the maturity value of the underlying asset, if that become more than the exercise value, then definitely the long position holder would be in gain position and short position holder would be in loss position. But if the price of the underlying asset in the future maturity value become less than the exercise value, then the short position holder would be in loss position, and the long position holder would be in loss position, and short position holder would be in gain position. So we never know what can happen to the price of the underlying asset in the future. Okay, so in if there would not be too much volatility, if there would not be too much volatility in the price of underlying asset in the future, then as such, there will not be problem. The long position holder and short position holder, whatever they have agreed, they would undergo the transaction. Okay, but the problem actually happens. The problem actually happens when the problem actually happens when there would be too much volatility over the price of the underlying asset. If there would be too much volatility in the price of underlying asset, if there would be too much volatility in the price of underlying asset, then there would be a possibility that one person will end up in defaulting the agreement. Okay, there can be a possibility, there can be a scenario. Imagine if the potato price, imagine if the potato price on maturity, that after 2 months, for example, that after 2 months, for example, if the price of potato, if for example, after 2 months, the price of potato after 2 months, for example, the price of potato become, if it become, suppose if it become 21 rupees per kg, for example, I'm telling. So in this case, imagine uh, how much the trader would be in gain position. The trader thought that he will buy potato from farmer at 12 rupees per kg. That is what they decided, right? They have decided, right? And maybe there did not any supply happen in the market, because of too much demand over the potato in the market and very less supply. Maybe demand remain the same, supply does not happen. Maybe too much rainfall or drought happen in some other part of India. So, or maybe some strike, farmer strike, or this that reason, the price of potato, which supposed to be trade between 12 to 15, something in that range, suppose it become 21 rupees per kg. So in this case, the farmer would be a big problem. The farmer, in this scenario, the farmer is one of the few people who have potato. If the farmer would sell this potato in the market, the farmer would have made 21 rupees per kg just because of the agreement, just because of the agreement. Uh, just because of the agreement, the farmer left with no option. Farmer had to give trade. Farmer had to give potato to the trader. Okay, and at this price, what they decided. Okay, and so this way, what will happen? This way, the what can happen? Farmer would be crying a lot. He would be thinking why he went to this agreement. Okay, why would have been went to this agreement? If he had not went to this agreement, the farmer would have been end up in making lot of money, and the trader would be very happy because the same potato which he, if he go right now to buy from the market, he would end up in buying at 21 rupee per kg. The same potato he is getting easily from the farmer at 12 rupees per kg, because he used a wise decision of making agreement with the farmer. So we never know, right, what's gonna happen in the future. When we talk about derivative agreement, in the case of derivative agreement, the two people talk about a transaction which they will do in the future based upon the present determined condition. So the price of the potato after 2 months can be 21 rupees per kg. So in this condition, the farmer would thought it better to default on the obligation. There's a possibility, there's a high possibility that the farmer, there would be very high possibility that the farmer would default, okay, on the agreement. While if the price of potato becomes, suppose in future, for example, I'm telling, suppose the price of potato, suppose if the price of potato became, suppose if the price of potato became 9 rupees per kg, suppose if the price of potato become 9 rupees per kg, then then what will happen? Then suppose if the price of potato became 9 rupees per kg, okay, so 9 or maybe 7 or maybe whatever, or 6 rupees per kg in So suppose price of potato become 6 rupees per kg after 2 months. For example, after 2 months, farmer and the trader has decided that they would do transaction after 2 months at 12 rupees per kg. But for example, if suddenly, if suppose whatever reason there would be too much potatoes in the market, maybe everyone started doing potato, or maybe suddenly new disease suddenly came in potato. So potato fungal virus disease, something, some disease came in the, suddenly scientists came to know that by eating potatoes you get new kind of virus, okay, or some kind of disease started spreading through potato. Okay, then what will happen? Everyone will stop eating potato. If everyone will stop eating potato, then what will happen? Suddenly there would not be any demand for potato in the market, and the market is flooded with potatoes. Automatically the potato price will fall like anything. And in that condition, if a farmer will go and give potato to the trader at 12 rupees per kg, which is right now trading at 6 rupees per kg, there's high possibility that the trader will default on the obligation. The problem with the counterparty risk, or the problem with the forward contract or OTC based instrument is that there's a high chance that one person can default on the obligation. So that's why to to minimize this impact, okay, so somewhere around 1868, the group of farmers and trader, they came together and they created a medium that is called Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Okay, so Mercel spelling is wrong. Mercant, Mercantile Exchange. So they laid the foundation of the first exchange around 18th 1816 or 1861, the year you can check. So group of farmers and traders, they in Chicago, in USA. So a group of farmers and traders, they came together and they use this concept of novation, where they said that for every buyer will act like a seller, for every seller will act like a buyer, so that this possibility of default risk can be minimized. And this led the initiation of exchange. Okay, and that exchange was basically a commodity exchange. So a lot of exchanges developed after that. We had Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Chicago Chicago Board of Option Exchange, Chicago Butter and Egg Board, Kansas City Trading Exchange, London International Financial Future Exchange, okay, Bombay Cotton Trade Association. So around the world, depending upon which place that place is known for which commodity, the exchange, commodity exchange has developed around the world. Like in Bombay, like in Ahmedabad, there was a commodity exchange for cotton. In West Bengal, there was a commodity exchange for jute. Okay, so in different part of the world, whichever commodity was more prominently produced there, so exchange got developed there with respect to the trading of that particular commodity, and that led the initiation of exchange. Okay, so initially when we talk about exchange, when we are actually talking about exchange, okay, here in stock and commodity market, when we actually talking about the exchange, so all your exchange was basically related to the commodity market only. Okay, so gradually with the time, when Gulf War happened between Iran and Iraq, when Bretton Woods Agreement got abolished, when Bretton Woods Agreement, I hope you studied about Bretton Woods Agreement in international finance. So when Bretton Woods Agreement got abolished in 1972 or 73 by the US President Richard Nixon, so when the currency market become very volatile, so then after that, currency exchange also got developed around the world. So initially when we looked into the exchange, there was mainly commodity exchange only. Okay, but with the period of time we have now commodity exchange, we have a stock market exchange, okay, we have currency market exchange, okay, so we have exchange is for different markets where the trading happens there. Okay, that forms of trading is called secondary market trading. That market is this market is called secondary market. This market is called secondary market, okay, where the trading happens between the buyer and seller over the underlying asset, and that that forms the logic of how with the time different forms of market have actually developed with the change in the era, and how the development of derivatives, which existence no one actually knows when it started, but gradually from the forward contract, how it transformed into exchange-based derivative form of transaction, which we call as a future contract. Okay, everyone. Anyone have any doubt? Any question? Anyone? Anyone want to ask any question? We'll continue discussion in next class. So this much from the today class. Anyone want to ask any question? Please ask me. 1 minute. Let me take the attendance.